Well, welcome to Tim's Take, and today we have the great pleasure of our Dean and Vice Chancellor of the College of Agriculture, Food, and Natural Resources, Dr. Chris Daubert. Dr. Daubert, or Chris, how we want to be called today.
Yeah, you please just call me Chris.
All right,
Everyone out there, you can always refer to me as Chris.
All right, it's also our college, isn't it?
It is. It is our college.
That's right.
It's never my college. It's our college.
I pick up on that a lot out there, but welcome, and let's start off by telling us a little bit about yourself. Where'd you come from?
Well, I came from South Central Pennsylvania. Both my parents were public school teachers. My mother was a fifth grade school teacher, and she helped children with learning disabilities. My dad was a high school band director, and so I grew up in a really small town. There may have been fewer than 2,000 people in that town, and I graduated with fewer than 200 other students at that high school. The high school I went to, Tim, there were two programs that had a statewide signature or a footprint. One was FFA.
All right.
It was definitely a rural community. Ag was the heart of that little town. And music, the high school band. So if you weren't in the high school band, you were in a FFA, or you did both of them. And,
right.
And that was what my high school was really known for. But I grew up in a rural community surrounded by fields, cornfields. It was really a dairy community. But in that small town, the name of it was Fredericksburg, Pennsylvania. There were 3 poultry processing plants, 3 different poultry processing plants. And those plants meant everything to that little town, right? They put jerseys on the backs of Little League teams. They built stadiums for our athletic teams, but most importantly, it created opportunities, meaningful employment for the community. And so I saw, while I was growing up, how food manufacturing can really drive the economy of a small town, of a region, of a state. And Fredericksburg, Pennsylvania was really not too far from Hershey, Pennsylvania. About 35 to 45 minutes away. So after high school, I went to Penn State University, where I majored in agricultural engineering. And within agricultural engineering, I was able to specialize in food process engineering. And so I did that and had the pleasure of co-oping. I was a co-op engineer with the Hershey Foods Corporation. That's what it was named back in those days. Today it's the Hershey Chocolate Company. And so I spent about 2 years working in engineering with the Hershey Foods Corporation. I graduated with my degree in ag engineering from Penn State. And the day that I was leaving, driving from Fredericksburg, quarter of the way across the country to East Lansing, Michigan, I got a phone call from my friends at Hershey. They were offering me a job.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I still remember how much they were offering me, and back in those days, that was a lot of money.
Versus going to graduate school.
That's right. But I really loved higher education. I loved every day that I was at Penn State, and I realized that I had an opportunity to learn more and to get more education. Had a great opportunity at Michigan State University, and so I went to East Lansing. I chose to go to graduate school and got a PhD in ag engineering. But while I was there, my mentor, Jim Steffi, still my mentor, always will be my mentor, he advised me to get a second PhD in food science. So it really legitimized my claim as a food process engineer. Now, once I completed that dual PhD, I was looking for opportunities. It was always my goal to remain in academia. as I mentioned, I loved every day that I was at Penn State, loved every day that I was at Michigan State, had such an amazing experience, seeing how education can really change people, change lives, create opportunities, move and drive an economy. So I wanted to pursue opportunities in academia, and I had originally accepted a position with the USDA at the Eastern Regional Research Center outside of Philadelphia. Remember, I'm from Pennsylvania, so this was a chance for me to go back to my home area outside of Philadelphia. And I had accepted that opportunity, but as luck would have it, I received a phone call from North Carolina State University. And at the time, my area of specialty, my discipline of expertise within food engineering was an area of fluid dynamics known as rheology. Rheology means the science dedicated to how materials flow and deform. And so you don't see too many positions out there for a food rheologist, but NC State was interested in hiring somebody with food rheology expertise. So things lined up perfectly for me, and I ended up going to North Carolina State and a few months later securing a faculty position, and that was back in 1996. So I spent the next 21 years at NC State, and while I was there, I had the privilege of leading the food rheology program. And I'll just take a moment to say it was perhaps the finest food rheology laboratory in the country. It was really, we worked really hard. It was a great place. But a few years later, I was asked to take an opportunity that would start me down an administrative path. And in 2005, I became the first associate director for the Biomanufacturing Training and Education Center, or BTEC as it was known at the time and still is. And in that role, I established the initial instructional academic programs for degree programs through the Biomanufacturing Training and Education Center. And then a few years later, faculty within my home department of food, bioprocessing, and nutrition sciences at NC State, they came to me and asked me if I would consider being their department head. And in 2010, I became the department head. And I was in that position for the next 7 years until I had an opportunity to go west.
All right.
To come west to Missouri and to have the privilege of leading an amazing College of Agriculture, Food, and Natural Resources right here in Columbia, Missouri.
And food is our middle name.
Food is in the heart of
right.
what we do.
That's right. Well, let's back up just a smidge. Now, you said music was big.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen you play the trombone.
Yeah, you can Google that, and you can see me online, yeah.
All right.
I've played with Marching Mizzou
right.
at Schaffner Unlimited. That's
and
right.
you've led Marching Mizzou at halftime.
I did. Last fall, Ag Day, that great Kansas State victory. That was just an awesome game. Perhaps many of our listeners were able to attend that game. That was Ag Day for us.
Yes.
And so I said to everybody, I was so excited for Ag Day. I said, if we could actually defeat the Wildcats on Ag Day, then I would submit to President Choi that every game thereafter should be Ag Day. Yeah, I did tell him that. But at that game, my friends in Marching Mizzou, shout out to Dr. Amy Knops, they asked me if I would lead the marching band, and you can actually see that video online too. And that was one of the bucket list things for me to have done, to have directed Marching Mizzou.
Oh, that's fantastic.
My dad would have been very proud.
Oh, I bet he would have been.
He was smiling at me that day.
Did he ever get a chance to direct a college band?
My father was pursuing higher education degrees himself.
Was he?
He started his PhD at Penn State, but he never completed that degree. So I think it's safe to say that he had conducted college-level musicians, but my father was an outstanding musician.
I bet.
Very talented.
I bet. And music and higher education and that seek of knowledge and leadership, it's all tied together, isn't it?
Right. So oftentimes people don't understand what that person standing up in front of all those musicians is actually doing, really, and orchestrating all those different voices, all those different instruments, and making sure that they all play together. It's a lot like administration and coordinating all the moving parts that we have here in this college. This is a very comprehensive, large college, but it really is about orchestrating all those different instruments, those pieces of our college. And when we get it going well, like right now, we can make beautiful music together.
Because even though because I was in high school concert,
oh my goodness,
trombone, even though yes, you're playing your instrument, but you're watching the conductor.
Never take your eyes off of her or him.
If the conductor makes a mistake or falls off the cliff, we all go with them.
That's right.
We really do.
That's right.
It's so important. The other thing that you once told me, your family has that connection back to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
Right. So where I grew up, in Fredericksburg, Pennsylvania, it's about an hour 50 minutes from Gettysburg College. I'm a card-carrying member of the Civil War Society. Abraham Lincoln is one of my personal heroes. I read everything I can about President Lincoln. But my family has great roots at Gettysburg College. Let's see, my grandfather went there. My mother went there. My uncle went there. My brother and his wife went there. My twin sister, I have a twin sister, Tim. She also went to Gettysburg College. So great roots that go back to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
Wow. Because there was some great leadership there that they got showcased. And Absolutely. When you mentioned in your history, when you were at NC State, you were always asked to lead. You were asked many times. And in reading in the memoirs of Ulysses Grant, he said his observation was those who were asked to lead were far more beneficial, successful than those who sought leadership.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation. Looking back, others saw skills or assets that I had that perhaps I didn't always see in myself. And so when requested to lead my colleagues, I always thought that was a great honor.
It is.
And I've always done my best.
Right.
So.
That they saw something there.
Right.
And of course we saw that then when you interviewed here, 2017.
2017 in March. Yeah.
Yes. And I was out in that crowd when you first came, first time I ever saw you. And one thing that stuck out, two things. One, you did your homework on Kaffner, and you said that we were a lot better than what we thought we were.
Absolutely true.
We didn't give ourselves credit for how good we really were.
Yeah, I'm not sure that any of us ever fully appreciate our home communities, right? I'm not sure we always see things because we live it each and every day. For example, my wife is an interior designer, and I live in the home that she's designed, and I take it for granted. But when I have friends, colleagues that come into our home, and they can comment on how amazing and how beautifully designed that home is. And so coming and looking at Kaffner from an outside perspective, I could really tell you how beautiful the home was, how beautiful Kaffner was. And 7 years later, it absolutely is and still is. And I have great appreciation for this college, for its best assets, which include its faculty, staff, and students. And it really is. It was a remarkable college, and it's even better today.
Because you've helped us to express that now, to really see that in ourselves and take it to the next step. The other thing that stuck out is that if you hire me as your dean and Kaffner looks the same in 5 years, I have failed.
Right.
Did you fail?
I don't think so. I think we've positioned ourselves remarkably well.
Mm-hmm.
We have more exciting things happening right now than at any time in our history. But what I saw when I interviewed here in 2017 was all of the rudimentary pieces that that a successful college needed. I saw that the college was looking for that conductor,
Yes.
that individual that could get all of those pieces, all of those instruments, all those voices singing together to make beautiful music. It was all here. And the strategic plan was the tool that I used to help unite all of those independent voices. In fact, the title of our strategic plan is The Drive to Distinction. I'm sure you remember, Tim.
Oh, yes.
But the name of my presentation when I interviewed here was The Drive to Distinction. And it outlined what I would do if I were fortunate enough to be given an opportunity to lead this college. And so when I did get that opportunity, we set forth to execute those plans. And one of the first things that I achieved as the dean was to launch a strategic planning process. Throughout my entire career, I have been a student of strategic plan. I have designed, written, prepared strategic plans for a number of different organizations over the years. So I knew that coming here, the college didn't have that unifying plan. And I took that opportunity to unite all the pieces for our college, and we took about 18 months to build our plan.
Which is a long time.
It is a long time, but the most effective strategic plans aren't those things that you just sneeze out on paper just so that you can tell your stakeholders, your colleagues, everyone that you have a strategic plan. It needs to carefully consider the many different facets of an organization. It needs to involve your stakeholders, all of your communities, not just those on campus, but your partners, your alumni, your students. And so we really took our time and listened to voices not only in Columbia, but all across the state to identify where are the opportunities, where can this college go, and what should it be focused on to bring distinction to Kaffner. And that's what we did, and we launched the Drive to Distinction April 1 of 2019. Less than a year later, the pandemic hits.
Yes.
And so I've been asked many times, Dean, how do you feel about just starting to launch that strategic plan and then to have things pulled back because of the pandemic? I said it was fantastic. Yeah. Because that strategic plan was our North Star. It was our compass to help us steer through the uncertainties.
And there were.
Oh, my gosh. That was the most challenging era, that period of time, that 2.5 to 3 years. That period of time in higher education was the most uncertain, disruptive, and challenging time that I have ever experienced and will likely ever experience again. But because we had that strategic plan, we stuck to it and didn't veer too much from it. That saw us through it. It showed us where to invest and where to focus during that challenging period. But I'll come back and I'll just say the college was so successful through the pandemic because of its people. I mean, just imagine, Tim, if you were a professor and you had your courses and your classes all mapped out, your lectures were already prepared, and you were told that by the end of next week, you're going to have to deliver all of these materials virtually and to figure out how you're going to deliver on those learning outcomes to our number one stakeholder, our students, right? Mm-hmm. How are you going to ensure that they're learning the material? Our faculty responded. They were able to essentially pivot on a dime, and they executed their plans, and they were extremely successful, and the college was successful as a result. Our university was successful as a result, and it's because, again, we have amazing faculty and staff. And let's not shortchange our students, right? They responded well and adapted to those new ways of educating.
Because I know my kids in college did not like online classes. They liked in-person classes. Unfortunately, they were already out of college at MU by that time. But I would think some students, had to have help adjusting to this new format.
Yes, and when they were turned home, some of their communities may not have had great access to broadband.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a healthy period of adjustments all around that we needed to adapt to. And our people did that, and they did it really, really well.
Yeah, because they were sent home, the students were.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
We even opened up some of our centers up that had broadband, that they could come there and take their classes. I mean, we came together as a community that way.
You know it. And this college did come together for its people, for its communities. I can tell you that in the fall of 20, when the students returned to campus, our college acquired as many large instructional spaces as it could. You'll remember we needed to safely teach our students in a socially distanced way, and so we were ahead of the curve in acquiring as many large spaces as we could. For example, the Trowbridge Arena. We invested a good bit of money into the transformation of Trowbridge so that it could continue to function in an instructional capacity. And through the first fall, through that first year, Kaffner was able to offer 80% of its courses in some form of face-to-face instruction. That was pretty special, really quite significant. And so I'm proud of how we responded to the pandemic.
And speaking of students, since the pandemic, Kaffner has led the way, and we're back to our levels that we had pre-pandemic now, or at least very close to them.
Actually, we're doing really, really well.
Right.
One of the things that we set in our strategic plan was recruitment for our students. We set a goal for ourselves to bring 650 new students into the college every year. Last fall, we surpassed that goal. I think we had 684 students. This most recent fall of 23, we welcomed 703 new students into the college. So we have over 3,000 students in the college today, so our student numbers are excelling, and it's been remarkable to see the response to our recruitment efforts, and I'm proud of the trends that we're seeing for our student numbers, and we're hopeful that trend's going to continue this fall.
One of the things I notice about Kaffner is they care about their students, not only once recruiting, but once you get here, they care for their students. And when they near that time of when they're going to graduate, they help them find jobs, and that's so important for that whole experience.
A shout out to Dean Brian Garten. He does a tremendous job leading our academic programs office. So within the college, the strategic plan, we have a number of key metrics, performance indicators that we're pursuing. One is for retention rates. Now, if a student starts with us as a freshman, that student is retained if they elect to come back for their sophomore year. And so in our strategic plan, we set a 93% goal for our retention rate. And this past fall, for the first time in history, Tim, we surpassed that goal with a 93.1% retention rate. Another great fact that I'm really quite proud of is our students get jobs. Our career placement rating for the past 2 years or 3 years, we have a greater than 98% placement rate. And so that means our students are having opportunities with a degree from KAFNR.
Highly desired students coming out of this. And that goes to the faculty, that goes to the advisors
100%.
for success. That's all these different groups coming together.